Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the video. Games Radar have had a really good interview with Phil Spencer. It's a couple of days old now, but I have to say that most people have seemed to have missed it, so I'm going to go through a few of the finer points. There are a lot of bits of information, but I'll link it in the video description. But I want to go over a couple of points specifically, particularly with his comments regarding HoloLens and the Xbox One, as well as Kinect, and what's going to be happening with Kinect and the Xbox One, because many people have said, hey, you know, is it basically abandoned now? As particularly, obviously, it's not being bundled with all of the Xbox Ones. So I'm going to start with HoloLens. He said, you know, will it be finding its way to the Xbox One? And he said, we haven't announced it as an Xbox accessory, but it sits within one team, and we have the conversations. Right now we want to focus on a standalone untethered device and make sure that it can prove out that scenario. That's where we started, and that's where we announced in January the first fully contained headset. The tethered scenarios around VR I think are interesting, but we're going for something different, not being tethered to either the PC, Xbox or phone. As part of that solution is one of our design challenges, and we did that. Now we have to say, well, okay, if we have an Xbox One or a PC, what about those scenarios? We aren't publicly talked about what those are, but you can imagine as we continue to drive and get success with HoloLens, scenarios become obvious and developers will take advantage of them. Now, before I give my opinions on this, I want to jump directly into the Kinect questions, because as I mentioned in the opening of this video, many people have said that Kinect was a massive mistake of the Xbox One, but Phil is stating that it's not abandoned. We just developed Upload Studio 2, which is a green screening you can do with Kinect, and will continue to build functionality to make it a valuable part of the ecosystem. That said, price point's really important for the console, and we saw that over the holidays in the UK and the US, where when we dropped the price, which was great. I want to make sure consumers have a choice of how much value the functionality of Kinect when they buy the console. And if you just go and buy a Kinect console bundle, then they're still available. I still think it's a great part of the ecosystem. If you just want the console and either add Kinect later, it's Kinect simply not something you're interested in. We'll give you that choice as well. The team continues to look at Kinect and makes the entertainment experience better. I'd say the area hasn't really landed, and I don't know if it will. Is Kinect integral to the core gaming experience on our console in terms of minute-to-minute gameplay? There are genres where the Kinect works really well, but if you're playing Halo or Call of Duty, it's not a scenario that says, hey, I need a Kinect. There's a lot of excitement, but there are still announcements to come out where people are doing with it, but Kinect's place will be earned through the experiences that are coming out and developers show interest. We will continue to build functionality through voice and using the RGB and depth cameras, and we'll stay focused on that, but giving consumers choice is pretty critical. Now, end quote. What are my opinions on this? Well, I want to tackle the Kinect thing first, because I have a feeling that's the one that most people are interested in, so I might as well get that over and done with. In terms of Kinect, I'm of two minds. It has the potential to be kind of cool for certain games. My friends, for example, is really interested in sports games, but there's a bit of an oddity. He was showing me, for example, FIFA works really well with Kinect, but on the other hand, Madden doesn't. We're talking about Madden 2015. Basically, it tells you, hey, you're not in the American region, so you're pretty screwed with voice commands, which obviously isn't particularly great. So I think the onus is somewhat on developers, but I do feel that Microsoft really hampered itself a little bit with the launch of the Xbox One bundling in Kinect, and I do feel that it did cost them a little bit of goodwill, particularly when they said, hey, it wasn't really, you know, easy to remove Kinect. It's actually part of the experience. We can't just decouple the bloody thing. You know, it's actually part of the system. You can't just flick a switch and then, you know, Kinect suddenly no longer is required. But then, of course, when Xbox finally was announced with a decoupled Kinect, it pissed off a lot of developers. And so developers have this situation where if they're developing a cross-genre game, let's say for the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One and PC, they have to say, hey, it's not just that we're developing it, let's just for the sake of argument, and obviously the sales aren't like that, but let's just say for the sake of my sanity and ease, that each of the consoles got exactly the same amount of sales. Let's say each copy of a game sells 1 million copies, so, you know, 1/3 of the total copies for each of the 3 systems. Well, they're not just thinking, hey, we need to develop this functionality for, you know, 1/3 of our audience. We have to actually then figure out how many people have Kinect, a functional system, and then how many of those actually utilize Kinect, because I know some people who literally do not have Kinect plugged in, whereas I know others who love Kinect and think it's absolutely phenomenal, and they'll use it to do everything from, you know, Xbox On all the way to, you know, performing searches on Internet Explorer or whatever the hell they want to do. So I guess it's just one of those situations. But personally, I do feel that Phil has kind of admitted that it doesn't actually bring as much to the table as maybe Microsoft had hoped. And I don't think that necessarily Kinect is completely devoid of use, but, you know, a lot of games, it just doesn't quite fit with the genre of the titles that he mentioned. For example, as he mentioned Halo or Call of Duty. Switching things over to the HoloLens, I find that scenario pretty much a given, that eventually HoloLens will be compatible with the Xbox One or Windows as a whole. I mean, it doesn't make sense not to, because the whole of Build conference was Microsoft talking about unifying, about actually bringing the whole ecosystems together, whether it's the phone, whether it's the Xbox, whether it's HoloLens, whether it's, you know, the toaster they're creating. At the end of the day, they want to bring development of those systems to become a closely meshed thing. I do actually kind of like the look of HoloLens. I've not tried it out. I have tried out virtual reality with the Oculus Rift, and so I'm not the world's, you know, biggest believer in VR. I'm not John Carmack at this point, but I think it has a lot of potential, and I think HoloLens is actually a really nice piece of technology, and I feel that Microsoft would be silly not to utilize it to its fullest extent when one considers, of course, well, Project Morpheus for the PlayStation 4. Because also it's a standalone device, that brings up a lot of interesting scenarios, and I kind of like it. I think that Microsoft did a pretty good job on that overall, to be totally honest with you. But with that said, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.